So today we are going to cover an interesting topic related to construction technique, that is underwater drilling and blasting. Now, just before we start this actual discussion, that what goes into underwater drilling and blasting. So drilling and blasting, you know these terms. You might have also seen some videos related to it. Mainly in case of tunnels, it is used widely, or previously it was used widely in tunnels. That you drilled some holes and then you inserted some explosives into it and then you blasted it. So that way the tunnels are made. So in this discussion, what we are going to do, so we are going to mainly focus on underwater drilling and blasting, because the normal drilling and blasting over the ground, it is straightforward. You don't have that much of a complication in it. But once you go underwater, so a lot of technicalities or complications may arise, which may hamper your process. It may hamper your economy. It may hamper the speed of a project. So that's why underwater drilling and blasting we are going to cover over here. Okay, and sort of the same thing you can relate it when we discuss on tunnels, in which the basic method of tunneling was drilling and blasting. Okay. So for preparing this few slides related to this underwater drilling and blasting, I have taken reference from a document which is prepared by International Association of Dredging Companies, IDAC. Okay. So at this platform, at IDAC, all the companies, well-renowned companies in the field of dredging, they have came together and they have came up with this document. So I have taken reference from that itself. So though it's I've taken reference from dredging, but underwater drilling and blasting, it is also required for dredging as a pre-treatment. Okay. So that's why I've taken the reference from there. Okay. So to start with, we'll start with why do we actually need underwater drilling and blasting. Okay. So now many of the times I have told you this, that we have studied in geography that the ocean floor, it is not just a single ocean floor, but we can divide it into different components. So as in the component over the above the water, it is called as a beach. If you refer this figure, the right side of this figure. Okay. And then when you go below water, then you have continental shelf, continental slope. Okay. Then you have something called as abyssal plains. In between, you have some ridges, okay, trenches, and all such kind of variation in the seafloor is there. And why I'm telling you this is, it's not always that your sea floor or ocean floor, it is made up of a sand. Okay. What we usually see on beaches, that is sand, but it doesn't mean that the same sand will be there on the continental shelf or slope or plains or at the deep oceans. Okay. There it might happen that you might encounter a hard rock or a very stiff kind of soil, which we have seen in dredging also, that in dredging sometimes the rocks are so much hard that you can't directly go for dredging. You have to go for first a pre-treatment in which you loosen up that rock. Okay. So same thing is applicable here also, that there are some rocks which are encountered at the bed of your rivers or coastal areas or open waters. Okay. So they can pose an obstruction to your work. So these rocks need to be removed, and generally we know that for removing the material from the bed of the ocean or a sea or a water body, we use dredging. But as I told you, again, dredging, it is not possible directly on a rock because it's too hard. So you first deploy this underwater drilling and blasting so that the rocks, they become loosen up, and then you can dredge it. Okay. So underwater drilling and blasting, they can sufficiently allow the fragment of the rock to be dredged properly. Okay. And mainly, as far as the construction industry is concerned, so you have seen all about the dredging. You know what's the application of dredging. So I'll not go into details of the dredging application. Just remember that as a pre-treatment for dredging, you can use this underwater drilling and blasting. And the second most important application that you can have as far as the civil engineering works is concerned. So there are drilling rigs. You must have heard about. Drilling rigs are nothing but deep water or submersible semi-submersible platforms or even floating platforms in the sea or ocean, which extract the crude oil from the ocean bed. Okay, so those drilling rigs, they are basically the operation and everything is related to chemical engineer and mechanical engineers. But as a civil engineer, what we need to do is we need to construct that rig. Okay, so mainly if you see the second figure on the bottom, this one. So if you see now I have shown you different slope nature of your ocean bed. Okay, so the continental slope and plains and everything that is coming into picture. And mainly if you see the first two types from the left hand side, if you see, so you have a fixed platform or a compliant tower. Okay, so these are platforms in which you need a firm foundation and over which you build a truss kind of a structure, and then over that you have the actual platform which does the drilling operation. So as a civil engineer, if you are suppose in charge over there for excavating the foundation or preparing the foundation, so as I told you, if there is a rock, so first you have to deal with that rock, and that's where the underwater drilling and blasting comes into picture. So whenever you search for this underwater drilling and blasting also on internet in general, so you will first see these kind of searches in your result, that is the drilling rigs or the oil drilling. Okay, but what we have to take, the content is only related to the underwater drilling and blasting, okay, as far as this course is concerned. So applicable projects, as I told you, it can be used anywhere where you encounter a rock or a hard surface below the water and you cannot directly remove it. You first need to loosen it up. So for deepening of harbor and channels, this we have also seen in the dredging techniques. Okay. Then one more application is, many of you might be knowing that the internet that we use, so the worldwide internet connection that is there, so that's because between the continents there is a cable which is placed below the water. Okay, it's generally placed just on the bed, or in some cases you have to dig out trenches for this cable. So for that excavation of trenches of such communication cables, and also in some cases a gas pipeline, so you need to excavate a trench into the bed of the ocean, and if it's a hard rock, again drilling and blasting will come for the rescue. Okay. Then again, demolition works. This is a pretty unusual kind of application for this drilling and blasting. Now, generally, we know that we build a lot of structures into the sea or ocean, and many of them have some shelf life because the sea water, as you all know, it's full of salts and chemicals. So, in due process or due course of time, the structure, it gets corroded or it gets damaged. Okay, though you build a very good structure with a good design life, but ultimately it has to be demolished or decommissioned. Or if you have to build a new structure in place of that, so you need to demolish some underwater parts such as the foundation mainly, or the pillars or piers. So in that case you can go for this underwater drilling and blasting. And the one more application, last application that you can think about is when you are constructing a bridge. So the foundation that you have to deal with, okay, it may be a well foundation or a pile foundation. So in that case, if it's a hard rock, again you can use drilling and blasting. So if you consider the process, so mainly I've divided this process of drilling and blasting into 3 steps. So first step consists of site investigation. This is obviously any basic step which is needed for any type of a construction project. Yeah, not only the underwater, or it may be any construction process, you need a site investigation. Okay. But the only difference is now here we will see some different aspects, okay, or you will look for some different aspects from the site construction or investigation point of view. So first you'll see the depth of overburden. Now overburden is something that if this is suppose the rocky surface or the hard rock strata that is there under the water. So over this rock, directly you may not encounter this rock always. It might happen that there is some overlying layer over it. Okay. This layer may be a layer of sand or layer of silt or any soft material which has been deposited, okay, the suspended particles which are there in the water. So ultimately, many of them get deposited to the bed of the ocean. So they form a layer or a strata kind of thing over your rock layer. Okay. So this is called as the overburden. Okay. Short form I have just written OB. So if you go for a site investigation and if you encounter that, okay, there's a rock, but there is always also a overburden over it. So you need to find out the depth of that overburden. Okay. Because there is no use of just blasting that overburden, because that is not going to help you, because blasting a soft material, it will just create a lot of suspension in the water and it will make your further excavation unclear. Okay. So instead, you have to deal with you have to use drilling and blasting in this rock layer. Just for the overburden, you can use a normal dredging that we have studied, scrapper dredging or any kind of dredging which is suitable over there. Okay. So for that, you need to first find out this depth of overburden. Then obviously the type of material, because that will depend or that will decide what kind of explosives you will use. Okay. So if the rock is in rock also, if you have type, if you have fractures in that rock, or if it's a hard rock without any pockets in it, air pockets in it, or any fractures in it, so that kind of material you have to first test. Then the level of rock head, that is the distance between the surface of overburden and the surface of rock. Ultimately, it's just the thickness of your overburden. Okay. Then again, type of rock. This type of material was related to the type of related to the overburden, and type of rock related to the rock head. And then obviously this is also an important thing that you need to understand, or you need to find the information about, that is the information about the nearby structures, because we are saying that we are going to create an explosion underwater. Okay. And you know that explosion, any kind of explosion, whether it's over the water surface or below the water surface or on ground, so it will create a lot of vibrations and a lot of waves, also seismic kind of waves, so that might affect the nearby structures. Okay. And if the foundation of those structures is not capable of taking this kind of extra stresses, so in that case you might ultimately damage those structures. So that's why this is an important step in the investigation itself. Okay. So that's the step number one. The second step, it involves the actual drilling. So now I'll not go into the stepwise detail. You can just read these steps later. So what is there is in drilling? Generally, you make some boreholes. Okay. You have some rock. You make some holes in it at a specific interval. Okay. And after making the borehole, you remove the casing and then you fill it with explosive and then you just blast the explosive. So that's the in general statement that I have made. You can just go into the details of this step, these steps later. Okay. So that comprises of the second stage, that is the actual drilling process. Okay. And again, for drilling, you can use a drilling machine or a drilling machinery, which is obviously different from the ones used for ground or earth over the water. So this machinery also I'll show you in the later few slides. Okay. Yeah, so this is the underwater drilling machinery that you can have. So it's just a floating barge or a floating ship kind of thing. So on the right side what figure you see, so this is a barge. And what is a barge we have seen? It's a large floating platform. Okay, so it can be a barge or it can be such a ship, which is in the first figure on the left side. Okay. And to one side of those barge or ships, you have such tower kind of a structure. Now these towers are nothing but they are supporting the drilling machinery. Okay. So there will be drills just as a borehole drilling machinery that you have, which is mounted on a vehicle in case of a land exploration. So in case of a sea or subsea exploration, you have those mounted on a ship or a barge. Okay, so this will do the work of drilling, whatever we have said in this slide. Okay. And the third process, obviously, it's the blasting itself. So in blasting, now you have some types. So I'll just quickly give you an overview of two types, that is basically trench blasting and line drilling and blasting. The second one I'm not discussing because it's more or less related to the trench blasting. You'll see how. So second one is just foundation preparation blasting. Okay. So trench blasting. Now, though the figure that you see in the background, that is related, or that figure or that blasting figure is for a ground surface, but we are dealing with underground or underwater, not underground also, underwater blasting. So unfortunately, the pics available for such kind of processes is not too much. So I have placed this pic which shows the trench blasting on ground surface, but a very similar kind of thing is there underwater also. Okay. So now trench blasting, from the word itself you can, or title itself, you can just gather some information that you have to create a trench. A trench is nothing but a sort of a channel, proper channel. So generally this method of blasting, it is suitable where you have to install pipelines and cables. So the one application for underwater drilling and blasting, what I had showed you, so that is laying of gas pipelines or communication cables. So in that case, you can go for this trench blasting, because in trench blasting, what you have is you have a length or the you have to create a channel along the length of your alignment, whatever you have decided, and the width is sufficiently less as compared to the length. Okay, so that's how you get a trench kind of a thing, and you have to just lay your. If I just draw a plan over here, okay, so you have to just make some holes into the ground surface, and then you have to fill it with explosive. Okay, so this is also the same case underwater also. So whatever is the bed of your ocean or sea or the rock layer, so you have to drill holes into it, and then you have to do the blasting so that you get a cracked surface, and then that can be further cleaned up, and then you can make a trench out of it. Okay. So as I told you, the width of this, it is just a few meters, and the drilling is done up to 1 to 3 meter depth. Now this is pertaining to the underwater blasting. This is not, these figures are not related to ground blasting. Okay, so 1 to 3 meter depth of drilling is done, and then for a larger depth it can be also done up to 300 to 500 meters, okay, depending on what is the rock profile. Okay. So generally this is not typically required in a lot of cases, but in very extraordinary situations you need to go to that much depth, or you need to excavate that much rock. Okay. So that is the trench blasting. The second one is the line drilling and blasting. So in this, what you have is, concentrate on the diagram above. It's just some dots that I have arranged in sequence. Now you'll come to know why I have arranged in that way. So concentrate on this area which I have enclosed in the red line. Okay, so this is the actual area which you want to excavate. Okay, suppose underwater you have to excavate this area, and it's a hard rock in this area as well as in the area around it, but you have to excavate only particularly in this area. And as we have seen in one of the site investigation point, that you need to take care of the nearby structures. So suppose there is an existing structure, maybe it's a foundation of some old bridge, or it's a foundation of a jetty or a pier. So in that case, that structure should not get damaged, or whatever are the vibrations or shocks that are created due to the explosion over here, so that should not transmit over the adjoining area. So in that case, what we do is we first drill this line holes, okay, or line drill. So this series of holes that you see which are very close and adjacent to each other, so these are known as line drills. So in this, as the first point says, that the technique involves drilling a series of holes, but the spacing is only a few several inches apart. Okay, so it's not like they are 1 meter apart or 1 feet apart. A very small spacing is kept, just a few meters, a few inches, sorry, maybe a couple of inches or 5 to 10 inches, and then a line sort of thing is created. Okay, and then you blast this area first, but with a low density blast, okay, or a reduced charge. So whatever charge you require to blast this area, the actual main area, okay, I'll just name it the main area. Okay. It's not a technical term. I am just writing it to explain you. Okay. So whatever explosives we are going to use in this main area, so instead of that, a reduced charge or reduced explosive we are going to use for line drills. And what will happen is, after using this reduced explosive and then blasting this, so this whole line, it will get cracked, obviously, okay? And it will form a rift kind of thing, or a partition kind of thing, between the main area that we are supposed to blast and the adjoining areas. So here I have only shown the line drill on the top side, because maybe there is an existing structure here somewhere. Okay, so that's why I've done it on the top side. If it's on all sides, you can have a line drill on all sides. Okay. So now once this rift or gap is created, okay, we are not intending to remove any material from this area. Okay. We have just created this because now when we come over our main area, we fill it, dig the boreholes, and we fill the explosives, and now we are going to blast the material or the explosives in the main area. So whatever are the shocks and waves or vibrations that are going to be created, so you know that vibrations, they travel through any medium. So here, when they reach this line drill portion, so there they will experience a discontinuity, because there we have removed the, or we have created a gap between the rock surface, okay, or rock strata as well. So the waves will not transfer from this rock in the main area to the rock which is there nearby the existing structure. So there we are purposefully blasting the line drills so that there is a discontinuity kind of thing between the main area and the other side of it, and in that way you can protect the existing structures over there. I am not saying that the vibrations will be dampened 100%, but whatever was the intensity which would have disturbed the existing foundation if we had not done this discontinuity, so as compared to that, a very less amount of vibrations we are allowing to reach the existing structure, and those vibrations, they are not going to create any disturbance or hamper the structure over there. Okay, so that's the purpose of line drilling and blasting. Okay, so the last point, it says the same thing, that this technique, it creates a line of discontinuity, and that helps to reduce the transmissions of vibrations, and that is because we have to protect the structures on the other side of that line. Okay. So though our main focus is to remove material from this main area, but to safeguard the other structures, we are using this line drilling and blasting. So these are the two main techniques they are used. One is trench blasting and another is line drilling and blasting. And the second one that I told you, foundation preparation blasting. So this is when you have to excavate a particular area. So there you can go for a combination of this trench blasting and line drilling. Okay, so maybe you can have a line drill on the sides, and then you can just blast this area. Okay, and maybe before blasting you need to strengthen, or you need to safeguard the foundation of this area or the structures nearby. So that is done by combining these two methods, trench blasting and line drilling and blasting. So that's why I have not mentioned anything related to it, because these are the two main techniques, trench blasting and line drilling and blasting. All right. So that's with the drilling techniques. that I wanted to show. And then obviously the main part in this whole process is the explosive itself. Okay. So now we are a civil engineer, so it's not expected that okay you will know everything about the explosives, but you need to have some idea if you are working in such kind of project where you are dealing with explosives and blasting and drilling, maybe in a tunnel or in an underwater structure. So this explosives will be handled totally by a different person who is expert in that. But as a civil engineer, because those explosives are going to be placed in the area where you are in charge for that construction, so you need to be aware regarding certain things about this explosive. So on the left side what you see, so just a variety of explosives, the size wise I have shown you, okay, of a certain company. So while selecting that explosive, you need to consider some factors, and obviously the factors are also obvious if you see. That is the velocity of detonation, then the density of the explosive, the detonation stability, as in when it detonates. Detonates means when it explodes. So is it exploding with a large unstable kind of a wave, or it's a controlled explosion? So that detonation stability will matter. Okay. And obviously we are working underwater. We are saying that we are using it for underwater drilling and blasting. So obviously the water resistance will be a key factor. It's not like you have taken some explosives and just after you dip it in water, you realize that okay, they are not that much effective underwater. Okay. So obviously you need to think of this water resistance beforehand itself. And the shelf life as well. So shelf life is nothing but if you buy an explosive today and if you use it after 5 years, so maybe the chemicals within it they will not remain that much reactive after 5 years. So all explosives they have some kind of a shelf life kind of thing. So you can just think of it as you many of you must have busted crackers in during Diwali. So in that, suppose whatever powder is there, okay, the explosive powder that you have, so if you are having some crackers which are kept for a long duration for maybe 2 years or so they don't burst with that much intensity, or you don't get that much lights or sparkles out of it. Okay. So that's because its shelf life has reduced. So same is the case with the explosive for blasting purposes. Okay. So these are the factors that you need to consider, and it will also be good for you because if you know this kind of thing, so even if you are civil engineer and you are working on such site, so no other guy or a chemical engineer or a mechanical engineer, any supplier who is providing you with this explosive, that that distributor or that supplier will not exploit you that sir, this is a very good quality and it is having high rates, so you take this. So if you are very well versed with these factors, you can just select it on your own also, right? So that's the factors. And in that also you have some types. So before going to the types, on the top you see, so I got this good figure from internet. So this is kind of thing that you do in the underwater drilling and blasting also. So again, this photo is for, or photo is taken for a drilling and blasting operation over the ground, but as I told you, the underwater photo is quite not possible to take. So that's why you can refer these, and the same process is adopted underwater as well. So if this is the rock surface, now here there is just a huge rock or a boulder, but you can very well relate it that you have a continuous rock surface underwater or rock bed. So you drill such kind of holes in it, okay, at some specific distance. Now this distance is also, it's not like arbitrarily you drill holes anywhere. So the person who is in charge of handling the blast or explosives, that person is very well aware of the, or he or she has a good study about the rocks, types of rocks, what are the strength and which explosives if we use, so how much explosives we are going to use and how much will be the spacing and all kind of thing. Okay. So everything is done after a detailed study. And after drilling these holes, you have to just fill it with the explosives that whatever you have purchased, like these explosives. Okay, so you have to just fill it into it, connect it to the detonation device, and after explosion, this is the photo. Second one is during explosion, and then after the explosion, you get such broken pieces of rock. Right. So the same thing, it can be done underwater also. Now, only thing is you have to take care that your explosives are water resistant in that case. Okay. Now, as far as the types of explosives is concerned, so I am not an expert in explosives. So whatever I have gathered information, so that's just through some reading over the internet. So that's the same I am presenting here. So mainly there are two types of explosives as far as the underwater works is concerned. So one is nitroglycerin based one, Ng based explosive, and another is ammonium nitrate. So ammonium nitrate, many of you might have heard. These are this is a common type of explosive or chemical used in explosives. And recently, the explosion that was there in Beirut, Lebanon, I guess. So there also the ammonium nitrate that became unstable and that got exploded. Okay. So these are the two types. And now again, as I told you, I'm not an expert in it. So I have just mentioned some general points. I have not gone into the technicality that what is the nitroglycerin, what is its composition and all that. And that's also not required for you. But you need to just be aware of the types as such. Okay, so nitroglycerin, it's a fluid kind of thing, fluid kind of nitroglycerin. It is a fluid kind of a, or it's in fluid state, you can say, and it's highly unstable. Okay, so a small shock also you can trigger or use to trigger that nitroglycerin. So it should be handled with a lot of care. And the explosives obviously are waterproof, but the period they are allowed underwater should be kept to the minimum. So that's related to the shelf life. So it's not like even if they are water resistant, you can keep it underwater for a long duration. Okay, it's not like you drill the holes underwater, you place the explosives, and then will come tomorrow and then will blast. It doesn't happen like that. Okay. So that should be kept in mind in case of nitroglycerin. And in case of ammonium nitrate explosive, so it's a water gel based kind of explosive. And then as compared to nitroglycerin, this one are softer and cheaper to in the market, and also they are safe to handle, because nitroglycerin, you saw that they get triggered just by small vibrations or shocks also. Okay. So that's why many of our times this AN based explosives are preferred. Okay. So these are with the types of explosives. And just a minute, while giving you the lecture, while giving the lecture, I remembered something that in a movie, I had seen some, I guess, nitroglycerin type of explosive scene kind of thing. Just let me search. Yeah. Now I don't know how many of you have seen this movie. There is a movie, English movie called Vertical Limit. It was released in way back 2000. So in that movie, it's a movie related to trekking and that kind of a scenario. And in that, they use this nitroglycerin for exploding the overburden or the one of the group of the trekkers, they get stuck in a cave which is under ice and rock kind of a structure, okay, within a mountain. And then due to some reason, due to some avalanche, the cave gets blocked with thick ice. So to remove that ice, they use this nitroglycerin for exploding it. Okay? So you can see that as well, movie, if you want. And yeah, so the main, now we have came to the end of the session, that almost the main thing that you require for underwater drilling and blasting, that's the actual drilling equipment that we have seen, and the explosives. But other than that also, then you need some accessories kind of thing. So you need the detonating cord, you need the detonator, you need the primer, okay, booster, lead line, and all this kind of things. So now I leave it up to you to, if you are interested, you can just go in detail and what actually a booster is or what actually a lead line is. So you can go ahead and explore yourself. But this much knowledge is sufficient to understand this scenario of underwater drilling and blasting. Okay. And now I have some two activities for you that I want you to do. So you all know Koyna Dam in Maharashtra. Almost everyone is from Maharashtra. Even if you are not from Maharashtra, Koyna Dam, it's one of the largest dam in Maharashtra, and most of the electricity produced in the western Maharashtra, it is at the Koyna Dam. Okay, so it has a hydroelectric power station in it. So a few of you might have heard this, or even not. So there was some activity called Koyna Lake tapping a few years back, okay, in I guess 2013 or so. So what this lake tapping activity was, as I told you, there is a hydroelectric power station at Koyna. Okay, so hydroelectric power station, if you have studied, so there what you have is you have a turbine which is kept in horizontal direction. Okay. I'm just drawing a very lame kind of schematic, and then you have a penstock which falls on these turbines. Okay. And that penstock lets the water. Okay. So here you have a reservoir where you have a water, and then this is the pipe through which the water gushes into the chamber of the turbine, and this is the penstock. Okay, penstock is nothing but the end where through which impact is there on your turbine blades. Okay, so now this looks very good in or very easy in a line diagram, but actually when I tell you that this turbine, this Kaplan turbine or Francis turbine, it is placed a lot of what you can say, a lot more in deep under your ground, somewhere below the dam also. And then this reservoir is nothing but the backwater for your dam. Okay, so this is a part of a backwater. But Koyna Dam, if you just check it, so it has a very huge reservoir. Now we have to connect that reservoir to the turbine. So you can't just directly go on digging. Okay, it's not like you go into the water and you start digging from here. That doesn't happen. What you need to do is you need to dig this portion first, okay, and you need to keep some meters of digging for the end, okay, and that acts as a plug for this pipe that you create by digging, okay, or a tunnel. And then once you create this tunnel, then you use drilling and blasting, underwater drilling and blasting, to blast open this plug kind of thing that you have made now. Okay, so that's one application where drilling and blasting it is used. Okay, so in Koyna Dam it was done twice. One, the first time in long back in I guess 60s or 70s, 1960s or 70s, and the second time in 2013 kind of thing. Okay, so evening activity for you, that just go on website and you can just type Koyna lake tapping, and you can get a lot of information related to that lake typing, that actually why they did it, okay, or what all things they used over there. Okay, so it's just something extra reading that might fascinate you about the underwater drilling and blasting. And the second activity, now this is again something different. As I told you, most of the underwater drilling and blasting in the deep sea, it goes for drilling rigs. Okay, and drilling rigs are nothing but the platforms which drill out crude oil from the bed of the ocean. So there was a drilling rig called Deepwater Horizon. This is actually the name of the drilling rig. Okay, and it was located in USA, 400 kilometers southeast of Houston. So it was somewhere over here. Okay, so it was a drilling rig. Generally, it was what you can say a normal drilling rig that you have. It used to drill out the crude oil for a company, a UK-based company. Okay, and what happened is on 20th April 2010, that rig exploded. Okay, or there was a huge mishap over there. What happened is while drilling the oil, one of the before you encounter oil, there was a hot stream of water or so that gushed out of that oil. They were not aware of that, and then it just blew the platform and it released a lot of methane gas. Okay, so before that oil layer also you have a gas layer, so they were not aware, or they just sort of misjudged it, and that methane gas it pumped out, and once it came over the water surface and on the drilling rig, it just caught fire and it exploded and it destroyed whole rig. Okay, so that was a huge mishap, and obviously it was responsible for one of the largest oil spills in the history of the world till now, history of the mankind till date. Okay, and it was an unextinguishable fire. You see that you can see some ships which are throwing water on this fire, but they were not able to control that fire. So there is a very good movie on this real life event that is by the same name, Deepwater Horizon, and in that they have showed that actually what went wrong. It was just a mistake that there is something called a plug that you need to first uh, take care of when you start drilling the actual oil, and that plug is made up of concrete and you have to test that plug. So the testing was not done properly. They ignored that testing, just a simple testing of that concrete plug, which created, or it had some voids in it, and then that resulted in a weak plug, and due to that pressure difference the whole rig exploded. So it's an evening entertainment assignment. It's a different kind of thing I have thought of, that generally you all are used to taking assignments, but this is an evening entertainment assignment. You don't have to write any report on it. Just see it for information purpose. Okay? You can find this on Netflix. It's a good movie. I recommend you to watch this to understand what actually goes in underwater drilling. Okay. So that's all for today, and that's the discussion about the underwater drilling and blasting.